We just got done hosting one of the top live events that you can really go to in the internet money space. We had some of the biggest industry speakers at this event, like Cale, Owen, Jeremy Haynes, Dakota, Hermes, Daniel Fazio, Cameron England, the boys from STAXX, Adam Chase, myself, Cam Allen, Clinton Veinot, Bowsky, and a bunch of other awesome guests in attendance who are doing big numbers. And in today's video, I'm just gonna recap and basically give you some of the top insights from each and every talk that have changed really our business for the better, and also a ton of our clients. So let's get right into it. So this is a live 2-day event down in Miami, and the first talk was my talk. So I did a quick intro for about 10 to 15 minutes where I talked about really just prioritizing your time. Because here's the thing, a lot of people will go to events and they just walk away with a ridiculous amount of information, but nothing that really is actionable, right? And then 6 months goes by and they're in the same spot, right? They just consumed a bunch of information, but they didn't act on it. Right down below this video, I have that document. What I challenged everybody to do was essentially write down all of their notes from every single talk and then look at it after the event and say, okay, cool. These are the 3 things that I am going to ruthlessly attack going forward. These are the 3 goals that I have, right? Maybe it's, I need to make better ad creatives, for example. Maybe you watch a bunch of talks and you're like, yeah, dude, my ad creatives absolutely suck. My ads don't convert. That is my bottleneck. So you write down that goal of needing to make better ad creatives. And then under that, you're gonna write the inputs that you actually need to do to achieve that goal. So for example, I'm gonna script out 20 new ads every single week and film them and launch them into the account for the next 90 days, right? That's an action step that you can take that'll lead you towards that goal. Next after my talk was Cale Owen. If you know Cale, you already know this dude is an absolute killer and an absolute savage. He has so much good information to spread. You gotta drop him a follow. But his talk was very, very impactful for us. So what he ran through was essentially a diagnostic test that helped you determine if you should make a move on a business decision or not at the current point. And what really stood out to me during this talk was not every decision is something you should act on right now or just like write off forever. There might be some decisions that you have to build into. So essentially there might be like a new offer you want to run or a new funnel you want to run or a new hire you want to make, right? Like maybe you want to get out of sales and you're like, all right, I'm going to hire a sales manager right now and a closer and a setter all at once. And that's like the big decision you want to make, but you have no pieces in place, like no training portal, nothing like that. So guess what? Should you act on that thing right now? No. Should you write it off entirely and never do it? Also no, you should build into that. So having his decision-making framework was huge for us because now every single big decision that we're making in the business, we run it through that test and it'll tell us specifically if we should move on that decision right now, build into it, so get the pieces in place so we can move on that properly, or just write it off forever. Then after that talk was Bandon. This guy's an absolute machine at making money. And one of the biggest things that I took away from his talk was this is not the last business that you're going to run. You can change your offer, right? The market's always evolving and always looking for new stuff. And I think he is one of the best people really in the freaking world at finding hidden opportunities and niches and offers that you could run. So not just boxing yourself into really one space, one industry, one market was a huge takeaway that I took from him. The bigger the market you can sell to as well, and the faster that market is actually growing, the easier it will be for you to sell your offer in that space. Then he broke down a pretty tactical thing that I really liked was when you're building a landing page, you wanna build it section by section. And each section is essentially a scroll. So if you just have the hero section on your lander and then you scroll, that's another section. And then you scroll, that's another section. You wanna build those independently from each other. Obviously they should all correlate to your offer, what you sell, your ICP, everything like that. But essentially each section has a purpose and all the CTAs should also align to what that actual section talks about. You gotta think, what is the purpose of this section right here? What am I trying to get the reader or the viewer to actually experience here? And what information am I trying to transmit over to them? And then make a custom CTA for that section. That was a huge unlock for us. The talk after that was my partner, Cam Allen. So I'm not gonna talk about his because he might be putting it out on YouTube potentially, but it was all about dimensionalizing copy, which is his methodology for making copy better. So making copy actually resonate with people and not sound AI and cheesy and all that garbage, but more on that later. Then after that was Clinton Veinot, where he talked about how to source and train sales teams. So setters, closers, everything. That was a killer talk. And one of the biggest things that stood out from that talk was really building culture. Everyone talks about having culture in a sales team and all that stuff. But if you instill that on a daily freaking basis and build up the energy with your sales team, especially in our space, right? In the coaching space, the agency space, stuff like that, the performance will skyrocket if everyone is on the same page with the actual culture and the mission. And that all stems from the actual founder themselves or the sales manager, really both at the end of the day. Culture is key, and it's something that's really done wrong from what I see and what he sees in the sales space. And it's done wrong in the sense that it's just very cheesy, right? People just don't instill a really good culture. And love him or hate him, but Andy Elliott, for example, if you look at that guy's culture with his sales team, I mean, it's insane. He has very low churn on his salespeople, and that culture is just rigid, it's clear, and everyone knows what they're getting into when they sign up for a job over at his organization, and they all love and push the same mission. Then after that talk was Dakota Hermes. So Dakota talked about something that I freaking have been pushing for so long and love so much, which is try different styles of ads, right? Try different creative formats. If you're not able to scale your account, it's because you're not testing different formats. You're just doing direct to camera stuff all day long, rinsing the same ad angle over and over again. Try new angles constantly. Be testing new stuff, test new angles, see what's working on organic, replicate that into paid, just try new things. I was so glad that he talked about this because it's just another person emphasizing how freaking important this is. Then after that, to close out day one was Daniel Fazio's talk, where he went deep into the entire AI infrastructure that they use over at their company, Client Ascension and ListKit. And it was ridiculously technical. I'm not sure if he's gonna post it, but you guys should really be following Daniel. He's an absolute savage, absolute killer. So follow his stuff and make sure you see what he's doing with AI, because this guy is absolutely, he literally just pulled up his laptop and just started to go crazy mode, showing a bunch of his models and everything he made. And it just showed us like, hey, we really want to keep diving into AI a lot more. Then on day number 2, I opened up with my talk where I talked about the 8 components of making a good offer. And here are the 8 components. So first is the offer has to have cognitive fluency, meaning your brain should not have to do mental gymnastics and all this garbage to actually understand what you're selling and what the outcome is that you're providing somebody. It should be clear. Your offer should be able to be stated to anyone on the street that has no idea who you are and what you do, and they should be like, oh, okay, I understand what you do. I understand what outcome you're gonna get. That's why the whole, we'll get you 1 million views in 6 months guaranteed through organic social media makes sense. It's like, yeah, I can picture that outcome. I know what I'm gonna get, it's clear. The second component is the offer solves a big problem for your market, not some small problem, a big problem that is burning the entire market. The third component is it's actually an easy offer for the prospects to implement. That's why done for you offers, or even done with you offers with some sort of done for you element bolted on, or done with you offers that have a clear path to get an outcome, work and sell so well because they're easy to implement, or they're perceived to be easy to implement by the prospects. Fourth is the offer states a clear time frame in which someone will get the actual deliverable that they're promised. If you're selling like a deliverable as the core of your offer, which I don't really recommend, I recommend selling outcomes. When somebody buys something, they just want to know when they're going to get the thing. The fifth component is the offer sells a clear outcome, not a mechanism, process, or tool. You want to sell the outcome people are going to get. The offer also has a clear how. So it's cool to say, hey, I'm going to get you this massive outcome and this big result, but if I don't explain how I'm going to help you get there, then that's a big problem. The seventh component is the outcome actually has to be believable. So if I'm like, yo, I'm going to help you get $1 million in the next 2 months, it's like, cool, I don't believe that at all because you're not backing it up with any mechanism, any how, or really any proof. It's just not believable at all. And finally, the eighth component is the offer shifts more risk onto the actual seller. That's a given, and you don't always have to do this with just guarantees. You can also do it with payment terms and offer structures. And then on top of that too, I talked about the creative formats that are working right now and how to basically replicate what's working organically into the paid environment, which is huge. So you should be scrolling through organic social media at least a couple times a week to see what's working in your niche, and then saying, okay, cool, I could take that style or that type of hook and apply it to my paid strategy. Then on top of that as well, I told people, please, for the love of God, start to sell to bigger markets. Stop boxing yourself into such a small vertical and a small market. You can sell to different markets literally without changing your deliverables. Next, after my talk, was the boys from STAXX. So Dylan, Alex, and Hunter over there, absolute killers in the finance space. They talked about so much. I believe they might be posting their talk, so I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but they talked a lot about how important forecasting is and just really knowing your numbers in general. And Alex also talked about some horror stories, I'll call them, of some of their clients when they signed them on, what their books looked like and what their financial systems looked like, and how bad things can get if you don't have your finances dialed in. Got to be following those guys if you don't have your finances dialed in. Seriously, that's something that I neglected a ton for a very long time, was our financials and our like tax planning and everything. And man, does it hit you in the face when it does. So make sure to dial that up. Then after their talk was Cameron England. That guy, if you are not into AI right now and building AI workflows, agents, all that stuff and AI tools, you got to be following him because he is absolutely on top of it. Something that we actually implemented from his talk was an AI CSM. So this is essentially for like a lot of coaching programs and agencies where you can basically build a CSM, so a customer success manager or customer service manager, whatever you want to call it, and they're inside of client chats helping alleviate some of the replies. So sending out different resources. If someone's like, hey, do you have an SOP for this? It'll reference a database, pull that resource and send it over to the client. Or if you essentially get asked like the same question over and over again, it'll reference a database, pull that answer and send it over to them automatically. So that was huge. We're diving a lot more into AI because of his talk. Then after his talk was Jeremy Haynes' talk, and it's on his YouTube. You guys got to watch that. One of the biggest things of that talk was getting very clear on your why and building the business that aligns with where you want to go. And I know, it sounds woo-woo, it sounds crazy. It's not all tactical and stuff like that, but I'm telling you, if you go through that talk and just block off some time for a weekend and just sit down and really think about things, you will be absolutely shocked at what you find. That was probably one of the most impactful talks of the weekend for me. And then after that, to close off the entire event, was Adam Chase, one of the most savage YouTube guys that I know. He might be posting his talk on YouTube as well. It was absolutely dialed in. He talked about best practices for coming up with ideas, scripting, and just some tips and tricks that are working on YouTube right now. But that was an absolute killer event. We got our next one coming up in London over Labor Day weekend in September. And if you want to attend, it's for our Inner Circle members. The link is down in the description below if you want to check that on out. And if you want some more ad sauce and want to know how the actual algorithm's working right now, check this video out.